Hi there guys, I hope you are all having a good day. Now, Dillian Whyte has talked up the idea of his fights in 2020 and he said he would like to be out in March or early April. Dillian Whyte is keen to get straight back in the ring after his win over Mariusz Wach. Now obviously, there was some negativity about his performance, but let's remember, he weighed in at 271 pounds. He was way overweight. He had only a couple of weeks to train for it. So ultimately, Dillian Whyte wasn't at his best in there with Mariusz Wach, but what he'd done was get the victory, and he can worry about putting in a great performance in his next fight, because let's be real, it was an entertaining fight. Dillian Whyte did give value for money in that fight. I mean, it was back and forth, and at some points you thought, oh no, Dillian Whyte is getting backed up here, he's getting hit a lot, but then all of a sudden, Dillian Whyte would answer back. So Dillian Whyte gave great value for money and put on a great fight, as he always does. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but that was, as I said, down to him only having a couple of weeks of training and being overweight. So in his next fight, I believe Dillian Whyte will be back to his best. Now, this is what Dillian Whyte has had to say about his next fight in 2020. I would like to be out end of March or early April. I'll be ready to go. I'm having my final week off, then back to training. I'll be training all over Christmas. Let's start planning so we can build a good event and get a good fight. A fight that I've got notice for, a fight that I can train for. Make another great spectacle in London. Povetkin, Ruiz Jr. and Otto Wallin. Those are the kind of fights that I want. Even Manuel Charr for the WBA regular title, if he wants it, that's a great fight. Charr would be a good one. Now, in addition to this, Dillian Whyte was asked about the Deontay Wilder fight and whether he thought that was a possibility, but this is what he had to say in response to that. I'm not confident of anything to do with Deontay Wilder anymore. The WBC want me to fight. I want to fight. I'm mandatory, but Deontay Wilder don't want to fight. What more can I do? I can't do any more. Deontay Wilder is a coward. He's a proper coward. So there we have it. That is what Dillian Whyte has had to say about his future fights in 2020 and Deontay Wilder. Now, we all know what Dillian Whyte thinks of Deontay Wilder, and we all think the same, really. Now, I'm not going to go as far as say Deontay Wilder is a coward, but he has never wanted to fight Dillian Whyte. He's never wanted even to fight Anthony Joshua, the career-defining fight, and he has kind of used Anthony Joshua as the reason behind him not wanting to fight Dillian Whyte, because he says Dillian Whyte hasn't got anything he wants, and he doesn't have to fight Dillian Whyte. He wants those career-defining fights, but then again, he doesn't take them. I mean, he's fighting Tyson Fury, yes, but he's kind of forced to by the WBC, and he's kind of backed up into a corner. He has to fight one of them. Dillian Whyte, Anthony Joshua, or Tyson Fury. And he kind of got himself in a bit of a pickle when he chose Tyson Fury, because he chose Tyson Fury because he thought he was the weak link, because he was coming back from where he had to come back from, losing all of that weight and depression. And he thought that Tyson Fury was easy picking, so that's why he chose him. But that is going to come back and bite him in the ass anyway. But anyway, guys, Dillian Whyte. Now, Andy Ruiz Jr. is a very interesting fight. That would be a great fight because we all know that they would both stand in the center of the ring and trade. That would be an absolute war. That is definitely a pay-per-view event on its own. Dillian Whyte versus Andy Ruiz Jr. Now, the possibility of that fight depends upon Andy Ruiz Jr.'s turnaround time, whether he wants to go straight back into training so quickly because he's just had the defeat to Anthony Joshua. Perhaps the fire will be ignited inside of him and he wants to get straight back in there and right the wrong and try and get a great victory straight away with Dillian Whyte. But it's not going to be as easy as that because Dillian Whyte is a tough contender. And let's remember, Dillian Whyte's last 3 or 4 fights have been 50-50 matchups going into the fight. So Dillian Whyte is not shying away from these challenges. The only thing that annoys me is the fact that he is going in there again with someone like Andy Ruiz Jr. if that fight is made, because let's remember Eddie Hearn has also explained that is a fight he would be interested in. I mean, how many 50-50s does Dillian Whyte have to go in before he gets a world title shot? I mean, he's had Oscar Rivas, Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora, Lucas Brown, which obviously Lucas Brown turned out not to be as good as we all thought, but going into the fight, it was a 50-50 fight. We didn't know what was going to happen. So Dillian Whyte is taking all of these challenges, yet where is his reward? I mean, yes, he's getting reimbursed very well, he's getting paid, but Dillian Whyte wants to win a world title. That's what matters to Dillian Whyte. And as his fans as well, we want to see Dillian Whyte in a world title fight because that is what he deserves. He deserves nothing less. I mean, he's got a better resume than Deontay Wilder, the WBC world champion. So that says it all. Dillian Whyte needs to have a world title shot and he needs to have it next year. And as fans of boxing, I hope we get to see that next year because Dillian Whyte is long overdue a world title shot. And I just hope that Dillian Whyte doesn't give his best years to non-world title fights, even though they are fought at world level, because Oscar Rivas, I believe, was an incredible victory for Dillian Whyte, especially considering what he was going through in the week leading up to that fight. So Dillian Whyte is a consummate professional. He is a great fighter, a great boxer, and he is a future world champion. He just needs that opportunity. And I don't know how many 50-50 fights I want to see him in before he gets that opportunity. Because the worry is that Dillian Whyte gives his standout performances in fights that are not contested for a world title. Because Dillian Whyte is well capable of winning a world title. He is definitely good enough. I believe he beats Deontay Wilder quite easily, quite comfortably. I think he stops Deontay Wilder in 5 or 6 rounds. I just think that Dillian Whyte will go in there and have a go at Deontay Wilder. Wilder will not be able to keep him off. And ultimately, Dillian Whyte will be too strong and too powerful for Wilder. Now, the fight with Andy Ruiz Jr. Obviously, Andy Ruiz Jr. has a granite chin. He is very hard to hurt and very hard to back up. He just comes forward. That is why it is such a risky fight for Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte is a macho guy and he wants to come forward and fight fire with fire and trade leather. So it would be quite similar to the Oscar Rivas fight. He would have to be very technical and very disciplined, much as Anthony Joshua was when he fought Andy Ruiz Jr. for the second time. Because Andy Ruiz Jr. is the upset king. He is a very good fighter. He doesn't look like much, but he is an incredible fighter. So does Dillian Whyte really need to give him an opportunity, especially after coming off of a loss to AJ? Maybe not, but you can guarantee Dillian Whyte will. He will choose the hardest fight that he can. Now, Otto Wallin. What about that fight? Well, he's had a good loss to Tyson Fury. He is a better fighter than we gave him credit for going into the fight. But for Dillian Whyte, I think he would easily take out Otto Wallin. I think that it would be a hard fight. I think Otto Wallin would be good technically to start with. I think he would try and box Dillian Whyte. But I just think Dillian Whyte would close the distance and unload on Otto Wallin and ultimately get the stoppage victory. And Alexander Povetkin, another great fight. I think that Dillian Whyte also beats him because I just think that Dillian Whyte is in his prime, and I think Alexander Povetkin is past it, but still, even if Alexander Povetkin can turn back the years, I just think that Dillian Whyte is going to be way too much for him. And then there's Manuel Charr, which I'm not too keen on because we've seen the level. We know that Manuel Charr isn't really that good. He's not a brilliant fighter. So ultimately, Dillian Whyte would deal with him within 2 or 3 rounds, I believe. It would be quite an easy fight for Dillian Whyte. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's up to Dillian Whyte. And again, it would be a great fight because you would get to see Dillian Whyte knock someone out, doing what he does best. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? Dillian Whyte talking up his future opponents in 2020. Who would you like to see him in there with? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Click the thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.